Jose. It's good to be with you today on Wednesday. Happy Epiphany. Today is the holy day in which we remember the wise men, the uh, we three kings, you know that story, that visited baby Jesus. So much good stuff there. Today is Wednesday. It's also Old Testament day on intersections. So we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 to 5. I hope you're doing well out there. I live in Columbus. I'm the pastor of Sandy Hook United Methodist Church. And hey, let's dig into Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 to 5. First thing to point out that this is a hymn or a poem of creation. If you take a look at the structure of this particular chapter, Genesis chapter 1, you definitely see a kind of like a song or a poem. There's sections. And so it's important that we see the type of literature this is if we are to understand what the author intended for us to know. Now, the author has been attributed to Moses. It probably was edited during the Babylonian exile. But in Moses' point of view, because he existed later in the Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy timeframe, this is a backstory or a prologue. This is a what happened before to the story of the Exodus. So there's a lot of themes from the Exodus that Moses was able to identify in the creation poem, which is pretty cool. We'll talk about those. Probably a lot more I could say about that. But let's jump into a few things that jumped out to me. First thing is the idea of beginning. The first words speak to in the beginning, right? And when we see at this beginning, God began to do something. In the Common English Bible, it says, in the beginning, God began to create. And that's the kind of original language idea, is that God started the creation process in the beginning. And he continues to create. He continues the creation process and is bringing about a new creation and will bring about a new heavens and a new earth and the renewal of all things. But God is a creator. That's who he is. And in the beginning, that's when he created. He created order out of chaos. So the metaphor in Hebrew of water means chaos. The idea of water or sea, it means chaos or evil or disorder. So God is bringing order out of disorder, order out of chaos in this creation poem. Where the other gods from the ancient Near East time frame brought creation out of violence and evil. Gods fighting each other and things were created and humans were slaves. In this particular creation poem, Moses is telling us that God creates order out of chaos. And that would be important for the Israelites, God's people who were enslaved in Egypt and who were escaping Egypt and going through the wilderness to the promised land. This idea of God creating order out of chaos, and he's different than the other ancient Near East gods. The second idea that jumped out to me is this creation. The way that God creates. God doesn't create the way that other gods created. We just mentioned that, but God creates using his voice. God speaks things into existence. God orders things in a particular way. There's a sequence, there's a rhyme, there's a reason to the way he's doing. He's separating things, light and dark. He's night and day. He's ordering, he's separating, he's forming, he's molding, he's willing, he's pronouncing, he's heavily involved in the creation process. So this God creates, and it's different than the other gods creating. The third thing that jumped out to me is the Spirit. In Hebrew, it's the word ruah. And ruah could be translated spirit, wind, or breath. And so this idea of wind and the idea of breath run all the way through the scriptures as involvement with and through the Holy Spirit. Jesus breathed on the disciples when he was in the upper room. The breath of God went into Adam. The breath of God went into the dry bones. There's these metaphors that run through the scriptures. the wind moves wherever the wind goes. And so what we see here is the Holy Spirit, the breath of God, the wind of God is hovering over the waters, the chaos, the disorder. He's hovering over it. And the word for hovering it's the same idea as brooding, which means birthing, like a hen sitting on the eggs. It's birthing something, bringing something new into existence, a new beginning. So the Spirit, this creative life force of God, is bringing order out of chaos, is birthing something new, because that's what the Holy Spirit does. This other idea of hovering is this, in the Common English Bible says it's moving he's shifting, moving the waters. And so there's a movement happening. And the idea in for scholars, from Hebrew scholars, they say it's like when Moses crossed the Red Sea, the winds were held back, or the waters were held back by the winds. And so the same idea is echoing here, of God sweeping across the waters. God's moving the waters. He's holding the waters at bay, the chaos at bay. Reminds me of Jesus walking on the waters, Jesus calming the storm. Jesus calms the chaos. He calms the evil. He moves across the water. He keeps the water at bay from coming and sweeping us away. Anyway, I'm babbling quite a bit today. Happy Epiphany. Hopefully you got something out of Genesis chapter 1, verses 1-5 in the beginning. And I'll see you tomorrow, Psalm 29. So, hey, grace and peace, everyone. Take care.